Hey, this is Anthony Cesari with SuccessForYourSongs.com, and in this video we're going to be talking about one of the most important concepts in melody writing, which is the idea of a melodic motif. So we're going to talk about how you can use that in your songs to create melodies that listeners get attracted to. So I'm going to be showing you an example in the song Now I Know My Home, so I've got a link for that on the screen here. So pause this, check that out, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And when you're listening to it, just try and pay attention specifically to the melody that's happening in the verses, and try and notice the changes that are happening from line to line in the verses, because that's what we're going to talk about in our examples here. So do that and then come back. Okay, so let's take a look at what you heard. So in this song, what a melodic motif is, it's basically a short little piece of melody, and that piece gets repeated throughout your section. If it just repeats all the time, that can be boring. You want to keep it interesting, so a lot of times you'll have it repeat, and then it'll change a little bit. So let's take a look at the melodic motif in the verse of this song. And the motifs will typically be different in each section because you want your sections to stand out. So the chorus motifs will be different from the verse motifs just for contrast purposes. If they were the same everywhere, then things would sound too similar. Not that it never happens, but generally speaking. So we're going to look at just the verse motifs in this song and how you can change them. A couple strategies for doing that. So if we look at the first line in our verse, we'll call that the main motif. All right, so that's this line here. Another quick state, I've changed my mind. And ignore that backing vocal, that oh so close. That's why I made those so small in the lyrics here. We're just talking about the main melodic line, the one that happens on another quick stay and I've changed my mind. So just listen to that because that's establishing our melodic motif. Another quick state, I've changed my mind. Okay, so that's established as the motif, and you can see that here. So it's got a specific rhythm to it. It's got its notes and establishes itself as our motif. Okay, so before we move on, if you haven't yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, please click that little subscribe button in the bottom right-hand side of this video, and also make sure you turn on that little bell so that you're notified when our newest videos come out. Also, if you have not yet downloaded our free melody writing cheat sheets, you can do that in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So be sure to do that for a lot more melody writing techniques like what you're learning in this video. Now, the next time we hear it, it starts off the same, but the ending changes. You could see that visually here. The rhythm and the notes are the same in the first half of it, and then it gets lower, and the notes change at the second half of the motif, which didn't happen before, but it's based on that original motif. So listen to that. I'll play the first one, then the second one. Another quick state, I've changed my mind. I'm passing more trees by the countryside. Okay, so that's one way that you can change that motif. You establish it, and then now you have the ending becomes different. The notes got lower and changed where it was just the same note before. Now, I mean, what makes this song a good example is I can show you a few different changes that are happening right in a row. Sometimes you'll just repeat a motif a few times with different lyrics, of course, but melodically, and then you'll have a change. But in this song, I changed it up a little more often than that, so you can really see how those change, the types of changes that you can use when you're writing a song of your own. So now the third line, this one here, it's also on this lyrical line. While drawing in lines between towns that lied. Now you could see that motif raises up in note, and the ending changes again. So it's doing two different things. So the notes start off, it's got the same rhythm, which is what makes it sound like the original motif, because you might be saying it's changing so much now, how is it the same? But when you hear it, you'll hear how it is related to the original. So it gets raised up, and then this time the second half of it goes up and then back down to the starting note. So this is what that first one looked like. It had its notes, and then it went down 2 half steps. Second one went down even lower and changed the notes. This one, it's raised up. The whole thing is raised up, and then the notes going up and then back down to where the note originally was. So listen to all three back to back, and you can hear the similarities and the differences in all three of those lines. Another quick state, I've changed my mind. I'm passing more trees by the countryside, while drawing in line between towns that lied. So you can see the similarities and differences that happen. So it keeps it familiar, but also interesting. Okay, and then, so the two lines that I have highlighted here in purple, but through the fog I see a city just starting to appear, and then this looks like two lines at the bottom, but it's really just one long one. Those are the only ones in this whole verse that aren't based on that initial motif. So I just highlighted those so you could see how those stand out. So then if you listen to that line, you'll hear how that's different, this first one here. But through the fog I see a city starting to appear.
But through the fog I see a city just starting to appear.
So you can hear that's the first time that it breaks from that initial motif. That rhythm is different and the notes are just doing different things there. So you have these three different lines that are based on an original motif. They're always changing, and then you get a fourth line that breaks that, sort of relieves some of the similarity there. And then it goes back to the original motif again after that. So that happens on I'm Feeling the Tug of Its Gravity here.
Its gravity, a place to discover the brand new me.
So both of those lines were the original motif. So this time there was no change. They were just repeating. I mean, of course the lyrics changed there, but the melody was the same. It was the same note and then dropping down 2 half steps at the end, and then that second line did the same thing. So now we are just repeating the original motif. But then now we're coming to this this third line in this part of the verse, and it goes up. So this time the whole thing is getting lifted up, and then it drops down in the same way that the lines before it did. So while it is kind of like that other line that was lifted up, it's also a little bit different because the end of this line is different than that one. So it's another modification on the same motif. So listen to all three of these lines back to back.
Its gravity, a place to discover the brand new me. Flung from a town that would rain to see.
So you can hear, again, you can hear that similarity and the differences there. And I'm showing you this song because you can see just from this one verse, there's several different modifications on the same motif. So we're seeing a lot of different things here. And then this last line is just something totally different, just something that could lead us into the choruses. So you can hear that here.
But places that are family start to pile up behind me, so it makes me start to wonder, will I find it here?
So a totally different line to basically set up the chorus, almost like a mini pre-chorus there. So this is a lot of different changes on a single motif. There are a lot of other things that you can do in order to change a motif, but this verse alone gives you a few different options that you can start to apply to your own writing. And a lot of times you could start even a lot simpler than this. You can just repeat a line maybe 3 times or 2 times, and then the 3rd or 4th time just make a little bit of change. Either lift it up, note-wise, or change the end, or shorten it, something like that. So hopefully that information helped you out. If you'd like to hear this song again, I've got a link for it right on the screen here, and you can even save it or stream it. Also, if you have not yet downloaded your free melody writing cheat sheets, you can grab those by tapping on the screen here. And if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, you can tap the logo on the screen for that. Thank you for checking this one out.